of Mark Trestman and the hiring of Marty Morningwig, as well as the Orioles offseason and the AL and NLCS getting going. But college football is really getting primed right now, and some of the playoff pictures clearing up, as well as Heisman voting. We're going to welcome our old friend Todd Helmick back onto the program from nationalchamps.net. Todd is out in Western Maryland, but went to Florida State at one point and has watched Maryland for a long, long period of time. Todd, I got to tell you, man, the Maryland loss last weekend, I'm never shocked by a Maryland loss, but I really did think they had this thing going in a different direction after a 50-7 win over Purdue. I didn't think that they would get torched the way they were at State College.
Well, a lot of questions were unanswered. 4-0 Maryland still had questions because, well, their opponents were subpar. Although UCF is not a bad opponent, which they went to overtime down in Orlando with them. So the biggest question mark in my mind, that has been the same question mark every year at Maryland since, well, even when Ralph Friedgen was there, they don't have a passing game. They don't have, more important, they don't have a passing quarterback. Boy, did Penn State reveal that big time. I only counted one pass that was completed for Maryland that went beyond 10 yards. Now, there was another pass to Ty Johnson who he caught a swing pass and ran for 60. I'm talking about a pass that went 10 yards downfield. They don't have it in the repertoire. They don't even try to run it.
Well, once the quarterback got hurt, that changes everything. And not that he was going to be a guy, slinging it, as Joe Flacco would say. But the Pigram kid's not set up for that. I mean, this is a completely different kind of offense. And, I admire that Durkin's trying to work with what he's got there and then recruit the rest of the way. But this does become a tall order when you have no passing game.
Well, I guess I don't want to, I hate sounding negative. I'll get to some positive things in a second, but Perry Hills can't throw the ball either. That was evident last year in his number of record-setting interceptions, and they said, well, he hasn't turned the ball over in his first 4 victories, but he hasn't had to throw the ball against a reputable defense. I mean, you can only run if I'm playing not captain obvious but coaching obvious. if I'm playing defense against Maryland, you're going to have to throw the ball. I'm going to lock one-on-one on your receiver. I may even let a receiver uncovered, but you are not going to beat me running the zone read option on me. And that's exactly what Penn State did. And the other issue I have now that I'm not sure of is where Maryland's defense is between the tackles with the front 7. We saw the quarterback for Penn State just burn Maryland running with his feet, especially on 3rd and long.
I mean, 350 yards on the ground, Todd. Yeah, PU, right? I mean, I wasn't expecting this. I mean, are you kind of shocked that it all kind of fell apart the way it did last Saturday?
No, I don't think it fell apart totally. It's just that's where I thought Maryland might be. I kind of knew they didn't have a passing game, and a good defense was going to take away the run and then exploit the fact they don't have a passing offense. On the plus side, Maryland's got a slew of running backs, and they've got a slew of quality receivers. And I still think their secondary is pretty solid, although that was not on display against Penn State because all they did was run it up their throats.
Well, you don't have to throw when you can run like that, right?
That's correct. I mean, the issue with that is the Big Ten is not built for defenses who can't stop running between the tackles. Maryland's schedule's about ready to get even more of uplifting here with some teams coming up. And, that's why I said it was important for Maryland to start out 4-0 against those lesser teams because getting 2 more wins to be bowl eligible isn't going to be easy. But I do see I don't want to be all negative, on the positive side, I do see improvements in Maryland. I see a different, I'm not going to use the word swagger at this point, but a different confidence level and enthusiasm, and I think they are on the right direction. And no one knew the Terps weren't going to run the table in the Big Ten. We knew that.
But you wanted to see them beat mediocre teams, right? You want to see them beat Minnesota this week, right?
Correct. That is a huge game for Maryland too. They did it against Purdue, which isn't as horrible as people think, and they can do it. They can beat Minnesota. It's just when a defense takes away their running game, Maryland's in trouble. And they're going to have to find a way to develop a passing game. As much as they hate pulling their teeth doing it, they're going to have to.
Todd Helmick covering all things college football at nationalchamps.net. You can follow him out there. They have a great TV listing for all the games on the weekend. So if you're looking for sort of one place that kind of brings it all under one house, that is a great place to do it. All right, the playoff picture here. Ohio State playing Wisconsin is obviously sort of the number one game late into the night on Saturday night. That would tell us a lot. Wisconsin's far better than we thought they were going to be, and certainly seeing them beating up on LSU earlier in the year. And the LSU, the whole hierarchy's gone now as well. But this is a huge game on the road for Ohio State, right?
It is, and Wisconsin's not only their entire team, but their defense has been one of the top surprises of college football thus far. The only thing is Wisconsin hasn't faced a quarterback yet. Spate at Michigan, not a bad quarterback, but not a world beater. You're not going to see him on any postseason award lists. LSU, well, we know about their quarterback situation. Wisconsin beats them. In comes J.T. Barrett at Ohio State, who's one of my top 5 Heisman guys easily at this point, just slinging it around, running with the ball, setting Ohio State records or about to. It's a lot of question marks get answered for Wisconsin this week, and Ohio State at the same time has not seen a defensive quality opponent like they're going to see at Camp Randall. So again, preseason September questions still abound with these two teams. Now they start to get answered with the meat of the schedule.
Alabama at Tennessee earlier in the day, 3:30, another huge game. I mean, Tennessee's really kind of flaky for me, right? And I mean, Alabama's the opposite of flaky, although they always struggle with that Ole Miss game. But this feels to me like a bad spot for Tennessee, quite frankly.
Yeah, I've been to Knoxville for this game, and Alabama-Tennessee is one of the oldest rivalries in the SEC, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
They play every year, despite being in different divisions.
They have been, and always will be football schools, right?
That's correct. I love Neyland Stadium. It's an old rickety place that has a lot of historical flair.
I saw Jamal Lewis run there the night I was there. They were playing LSU, and I was up on the absolute roof of the roof. You know what I mean? And, it was raining sideways, but we didn't get wet. It was awesome.
It's a great atmosphere, and I do believe Alabama's beatable. And there's some SEC pep out there that said this guy's crazy, but I think they're beatable. Ole Miss showed that, and they're giving up 38, 41 points here and there. They're not, but they're the best team in college football right now, man for man, easily. I just said they're beatable. For Tennessee, they're going to need to be, first off, Tennessee comes out of the gate slow. You're down 21-0 to Florida. You're down 14-0 to A&M.
That's what I mean about being flaky, man. I mean, I've seen them just look awful for long stretches of time.
You get down 21-0 to Alabama, and you're in a world of hurt. Alabama is not, no offense to Florida, Georgia, they're not. This is Alabama. I mean, Tennessee's got their hands full. For them to beat Alabama, it's the typical. They're going to need breaks. They're going to need to win the turnover battle to have a chance in this game. But if they get down 14-0, it's a bad situation to be in.
Where are you with Heisman? I know you're one of the Heisman voters, Todd. Some thoughts about all these guys sort of bunched up. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we all have our favorites. Felt like the kid from LSU was going to run away with the thing, or Clemson. Many more names involved in it now, right?
Yeah, 2 names we haven't heard of. And like the playoff picture where we're starting to see the cream rise to the top to a small degree, and we're getting a better idea where that sits. We're also seeing the same with the Heisman picture. And it's all quarterbacks this year for the Heisman. In fact, the top 4 guys easily by a landslide at this point would be Lamar Jackson, Louisville, Deshaun Watson, Clemson, J.T. Parrott, Ohio State, and this Jake Browning now at Washington. Ironically, that's 2 sophomores and 2 juniors, so we don't see any seniors in this Heisman race right now, but it is a quarterback race. And these 4 has stepped up and proven themselves, again, with Jackson and Jake Browning at Washington, which, by the way, they go into Eugene, Oregon, and lay 70 on the Ducks. You don't go into Eugene. I know the Ducks are struggling, but to beat them 70-21 in their backyard was an impressive statement by Washington, which also the week before they pounded Stanford.
That's how wars get started, right? When that sort of thing happens out there, right? I mean, after so many years, because Washington had been getting their ass kicked for a decade and a half, right?
Well, it's kind of good to see the city of Seattle support. We know what they can do with the Seahawks making noise. It's good. It's a good football base. They know football out there. I'm kind of
no prettier setting, by the way, for a game than Husky Stadium, right? Period.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, but if you ever been to the University of Washington Stadium, I haven't been there, but the aerial photos I see are like, wow, that's beautiful. But they love their football there, and I'm glad to see them be what's the word I'm looking for?
Relevant.
Relevant. Yeah, thank you. Relevant again. And they are certainly relevant. I'm not sure where the Big 12 is. Stanford losing to Washington State big last week. USC, I don't know which team's going to show up each week. UCLA is getting beaten on. I'm not sure where that sits, but Washington's deserving of being in the playoff race, and they're number 5 in the AP poll, and deservedly so.
Well, I mean, there's 4 teams now in the Big Ten in the top 10. As much as we talk about the SEC or you talk about the Pac-12 being down a little bit, this is a pretty shining time for the Big Ten, right?
It's the best the Big Ten has been in football since Maryland and Rutgers joined, and they expanded to the 12 teams. Because what we're seeing in the South Division, Nebraska undefeated, now ranked 10th. Because really, you look at the North Division, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. I mean, those are your heavy hitters, especially the first two. And the other conference has been, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota. They've been down and out. But all of a sudden now we see Wisconsin surging, Nebraska in the top 10, which, by the way, Nebraska still has yet to beat anyone. I'm not sure they're top 10 teams. Not sold on them.
Well, they're going to see the Terps later in November. I might be going to that game, as I've talked about. So it'd be awesome seeing a really good Nebraska team. I'd be turned on by that, right?
Hey, just to see Nebraska at 5-0 and be relevant in the top 10 again is another, because they haven't seen this in a while. But again, it's been against
Tom Osborne.
Yeah, probably since Tom Osborne. I'd have to look that up. When's the last time they've been 5-0 to start the season? I bet it's been a while.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Todd Helmick joining us here, nationalchamps.net, talking all things college football this week. Last thing for you, because I know we talked a lot about Maryland. Let's talk about Navy in that win over Houston. I mean, just kind of monumental when they pull these things off, right? It's not just stupid patriotism or whatever. It really is sort of little guys beating up on big guys for the most part.
It is. That was the. I venture to say the upset of the year at this point in time. What it does, not just from a Navy standpoint, the game was down in Annapolis. The service, they bum rushed the field, Nestor. The Service Academy men in their uniforms.
And not just to do push-ups, as they usually are, right?
That's correct.
Right.
They were out there to celebrate in the mud. And what it does so for Houston, they're done. Houston's playoff dreams, done. They can't recoup because their schedule in the American Conference isn't strong enough to get them back in to the race. And I said after Houston beat Oklahoma in week 1 by a decisive margin, I said, now Houston's, let's see how they do now. They're now the hunted instead of the hunter.
Well, Louisville had to deal with that, too, after their big win, right?
Correct. But they went into Clemson and proved they belonged, I thought. Despite a loss, that game was a toss-up. That game was a complete toss-up. And Louisville's not out of it because of that. And because they still have Houston on their schedule, and they're in a Big Six conference. But if you're in the American Conference, no wonder those American Conference teams are scrambling to get into the Big 12, as the Big 12 now has made it known they want to expand. I mean, you got to be in a Power 6 conference to have the advantage to get in the playoffs.
Well, we saw that last year, too. And, even if you're in the Big 5, somebody's going to get left out as well. Todd Helmick is out at nationalchamps.net with the TV listing. Tell everybody what you guys do at National Champs.
Well, in the fall, we focus on the smaller things like I said, the TV listings and our Heisman. When the poll comes out for the college football playoff poll comes out next week, we'll have our top 25 Heisman list out. We tend to focus more on the off season because we don't have the manpower to keep up with the ESPNs and CBSs by just reporting scores and stats. We got to be a little different. But you can check out our all-time database, too. You click on like any team like Maryland, and we'll tell you every bowl game they've played, who their career-leading passers are, and all their record breakers and things like that.
A wealth of information. Todd Helmick, you always are. Great having you on, man. Enjoy the games this weekend, pal.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
You got it, Todd.
Nestor, let me say one last thing.
Sure.
This month marked the 15th year I've been on you or NST. 15 years. Where did the time go?
Well, I'm celebrating 25 years on radio on December 13th. So, yeah,
wow.
I mean, we're getting there. And WNST this summer just crossed the, let's see, it's a 18th year. We're in our 19th year of WNST. How about that?
Well, I've been 15 years part of it, and I just want to say I'm thankful and grateful for that.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. It's always great having you on, Todd. We'll see you soon, pal.
All right.
You can visit Todd Helmick out at nationalchamps.net anytime for college football stuff. and he always appears here. It's great to have him on. He also takes care of that Queen City Football Foundation out in Western Maryland as well, taking care of some young athletes. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live and our YouTube WNSTV channel. The Buy a Toyota Audio Vault is our home for anything that you miss around here from a radio perspective. You can download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. Big thanks to all the folks at buyatoyota.com. Our morning newspaper ships at 7 a.m. each and every morning. It's free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And as you learned on Monday morning, breaking news happens anytime. When Mark Trestman was fired, you got it first on the WNST Tech Service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, and Dennis Colatzos will be here from 3 until 5 on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for the Chargers and the Broncos, as well as some baseball games this weekend. And, of course, we still have a little space left on our bus trip to the Giants game, the Meadowlands, on Sunday. You can email me or click on the Trips tab at WNST.net. I'm Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.